in a social media world or in a world of a digital age, youth is synonymous with beauty and style. So, how do us women over 50 navigate these changing times of social media and the game of comparison? Well, we're going to talk all about that in today's podcast. Welcome to the Dress with Purpose podcast. My name is Amanda Hall, and I am your host and your own personal stylist. And today I want to talk about the comparison game. And I want to talk about how women over 50 can get lost when it comes to beauty and fashion because of this social norm or this social expectation that youth is synonymous with beauty and style. So today I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the comparison game. I want to talk about why and share a little bit of my story with you. And then let's talk about some ways that we can use our beauty, our experience, our style to start impacting change for our community of women over 50. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the comparison trap. I don't know about you, but I have found myself lost in the comparison game more than a time or two. In fact, sometimes I wonder if I really live in that comparison game. You know, we see images all day long as we go through social media of everyone's amazing lives, and we see influencers in both the beauty and fashion world who are young and beautiful and can oftentimes be on the thinner side. Now, I am a woman who is over 50. I am mid-size. I'm a size 12, and I love beauty and fashion. And if you are watching on the video podcast today, you will see that I'm here with no makeup on. Now, on Mondays, I do Makeup Mondays, and I share with you makeup for women over 50. And especially women over 50 with dry, mature, aging skin. And I wanted to come today to the podcast not made up. I wanted to be who I am without the makeup. And now, granted, I love makeup. I love to play with makeup and I love fashion. Always have, always will. And being almost 55 has not stopped that desire. So when I see images all day long, and even sometimes images of influencers who are around my age, could even be a little bit younger in their 40s and maybe some in their early 60s, I do find myself comparing myself like, oh my gosh, they're so polished, they're so put together. I don't know if I could be that. Like, I'm comparing my chapter 1 to their chapter 10. And so I can get very caught up in the comparison trap, the comparison game, as I like to call it. And it isn't easy when we're bombarded with images and ads portraying these younger, beautiful women who, when we're over 50, that is a different time in our life for sure. And so I really want to have an honest conversation about that and how we could start changing the narrative, at least in our community. Now, comparison is a hard game to get out of. And I know this all too well because it is something that I have struggled with my entire life. In high school, in elementary school, I was the ugly duckling. Like, I never fit in. I wanted so bad to be a part of the popular girls, the pretty girls, and I just didn't fit in. I was not that girl. And as high school came around, I did everything I could to try to fit in and only hurt myself in that respect. And it was hard because I never felt like I fit in and I never felt like I could be one of the popular girls or one of the pretty girls. And so trying to break this stereotype as I have gotten older is a challenge because it's something that I've lived with my entire life. And as I now am over 50 and have done a lot of work on myself, not physical work, but emotional work on myself, I've come to appreciate my beauty and my sense of style in a whole new light, in a whole new life. And so I am not as easily caught up in the comparison game as I used to be. Now, I use the images that I see on a daily basis as someone who is in the beauty and fashion, who talks about that, who loves that. I use it now as inspiration and I use it now as a guideline for me. I am never going to be the size 2 girl, and I've been the size 24 girl. I'm now the size 12 girl. And so I say girl, woman. And so I am okay in my skin now. And I think a lot of women, as we get over that age 50, start to realize that we really don't have a lot to prove anymore. And our experiences in life, good and bad, have molded us and created us to the women we are today. And I'm a firm believer that it will continue to mold me into a better woman going forward. And beauty and fashion and style helps me with that. When it comes to the images that we're bombarded with on a daily basis, on social media, in print media, I want to challenge you. If you are a woman over 40, a woman over 50, if you're a woman over 60s, to look at those images and use them for inspiration and not get lost in comparing yourself to the size of that woman, the complete lack of wrinkles that she has, the lack of maybe experience that she has, and really think about how you can be inspired by the beauty, by the fashion, by the style that you're seeing versus the comparison to the woman who is creating that image for you. So really, the comparison game is not a game that should be a long-lived shelf life. It is a game that we really do need to put up on a shelf and eventually get rid of. Now, I'm not saying there are not times that I don't find myself comparing myself to these younger people who are out there doing what I'm doing in beauty and in fashion and in style. Because I do. We're human. We're going to have those moments of comparison. In those moments, I have to remind myself that I cannot compare my story to her story. She may be further along in her story. She may be at the beginning of her story. I'm in the middle of my story, or I'm at the beginning of another chapter of my story. And so that's where I have to come from and know that comparing myself or having an expectation of myself that can rear its ugly head when comparison comes around doesn't do me a whole lot of good. And it only derails me, it only depresses me, honestly. And it's not something that's worth investing my time in anymore. And so I would deeply encourage you that if that's an area that you struggle in, because trust me, I've struggled with it for 50 years of my life, um, you learn to recognize the woman that you are, the woman that you were created to be, what that looks like to you and to those who are close to you, to those who love you. That's the woman that we need. That's who we need to show up in the world. And our age is only a number. And we are beautiful because of our experiences. We are beautiful because we have lived life. And I think that's important to remind ourselves about when we are looking at images on a daily basis, or we're comparing our lives to the perfect lives that get put out on social media. And most of the time, those aren't realistic. And honestly, sometimes they're hard to believe because I recognize that life's not easy and there are challenges and there are struggles. And you don't see a lot of that on your feeds, on your social media feeds, in the news or in print media. As women of a certain age, we need to take ownership of that. We need to be willing to show ourselves as we are and express ourselves through our own beauty and our own fashion and our own style. And if you had listened to previous podcasts, I talk about what it means to dress with purpose. And that for me is a huge component of this. And I've talked about how creativity and expression, our goals, our aspirations have impact on how we dress and how we show up in the world and how we present our style. Well, age and experience also impact that. And so we have to address this comparison issue that is going on in the world today. Now, we also realize that there are stereotypes around beauty and fashion. You know, the size zero, if you watch The Devil Wears Prada, which I watch quite frequently because I just love the fashion in it and the style in it. But Nigel is talking to Anne Hathaway's character, Andy, and she says to him, well, I'm a size 6. And he goes, oh, that's the new 14. We have to break the stereotypes. And one thing that I have started to notice is that even in the runways of today, when they're showing the styles that are coming out for winter of 2024, they are becoming a little more size inclusive. So if we're talking about our bodies, they are representing different shapes of bodies and not that paper waif thin look that they have been showing for decades. And it's nice to see that they're including more women that have different body shapes. And that is a step forward in the right direction. Now, I have noticed also that we're seeing models of all ages on the runway. We are seeing older models. We are seeing actresses and previous supermodels that are now reached their 40s and their 50s who are now walking the runways again as well. So we are starting to see a movement of the break in the stereotypes. of the wafy, thin woman. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still much more of that than there is to size inclusivity, yet we are making progress in that. And it's refreshing and it's nice to see. We're going to start seeing a movement towards more of that. And that happens because women are speaking up. Women are not afraid to show who they are and represent who they are. Now, I've said before on this podcast, I am a woman of faith, and I am part of my journey to this place where I am confident in my own skin, and I have broken quite a bit free from this comparison game, is because I feel very rooted in who God has created me to be, what my identity is in Him. And that's a big component for me. And so it helps me to not get lost in the stereotypes and in the comparison game, because there is not someone who compares to me. There's not someone who's had my experiences. We may have similar talents, we may have similar gifts, but we've all lived a very different life. We've all had different experiences, and that is what's unique about us. I mean, we all have our own fingerprint. So whether there's a uniform of style or a uniform of beauty, we all get to express that in our own ways. And so I see that we are starting to break some of those stereotypes when it comes to beauty and fashion. And that will start to make things easier when it comes to the comparison game and us comparing ourselves to other people. Because when we start to see more people who look like us, or who are our sizes or our skin colors, it really does start to help us break through that comparison. Now let's talk a little bit about the beauty world specifically. I mean, you are starting to see more skincare, more beauty directed at women with mature skin, with dry skin, with oily skin, whatever your skin condition is, that is geared towards a mature woman. As our skin starts to age, as elasticity falls, as Father Time, gravity starts to work against us, and we get wrinkles and fine lines and life experience on our faces. The beauty industry has started to be more recognizing of that. Now, we do get bombarded with the appearance to look younger, Botox, plastic surgery, all those things that can take away age. And that's great for some people who get that done. Like, I have no judging here, because, have I thought about, I'd love to get a little bit of Botox around my lips to help with this deep lineage I have, so my lipstick wouldn't feather out. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I know that there are areas that nature takes its course in. And so, but we're starting to see a lot more skincare geared towards mature women. There are including more health, more benefits to our skincare products that help with aging, hyaluronic acid, niacinamides, all the things that you're starting to hear about in products that are going to help assist the aging process. And that all happens over time. But it is nice to see that the beauty industry is starting to recognize that. And we are starting to see a lot more women over 50 who are representing beauty for women over 50. I love makeup, always have. I will think I will probably be in my 80s and still playing with makeup. I just love playing. I love bold eye looks. I love testing new makeup. I am a drugstore girly through and through, so I like affordable. And so we're starting to see more women represent women like us over 50. And so we should be encouraging those women. We should be supporting those women, not dragging them down or criticizing them, but really lifting them up and valuing what they're bringing to the market, what they're bringing to this place of age and experience and life. And so while steps are being taken in the beauty world, there is still youth is still a big part of that. And so the more that we have mature women who are speaking up, who are out there talking about makeup, talking about skincare, talking about things that are in the beauty world, uh, it becomes more representative of who we are. And you're going to start to see that there will be more women who are over 50 who are breaking out and creating an experience of beauty and fashion because they're okay in their own skin now. And that's an amazing place to be. So the beauty world, although it's come a really long way, we still have a little ways to go, but I want to encourage you that truly beauty is only skin deep. And playing with makeup and loving makeup is not bad. And if you don't like makeup and you love the natural look, girl, more power to you. Because it's hard for me to not walk out of the house without makeup on. But I do it. It doesn't bother me like it used to bother me. So we each have a role to play in the beauty world. And I would encourage you to encourage those who are out there who are representing our age group and are representing us women over 50. Because it's not easy. Because it's easy to get caught up in the comparison game. And the women that are brave enough and bold enough to get out there and do it, we need to be championing them and we need to be supporting them and lifting them up because it's not easy in this world of youth, and youth being synonymous with beauty and style. There's my take on the beauty industry. You can take it for a grain of salt. And again, these are all just my own opinions, my own experiences, and represent me and how I am looking at the overall picture of the beauty world from a professional point of view, as well from a woman who's over 50. And so I just want to tell you that, that is where I'm coming from. I'm coming from someone who wants to encourage women who are over 50 to recognize their beauty, whatever that beauty looks like, and to inspire you to be the woman that you were created to be. I want you to be inspired by what you see. I want you to be encouraged by what you see. I don't want you to get stuck in the comparison that I'm not good enough or that I'm not pretty enough, when you are. All right, now let's talk about fashion. Now, the fashion industry has come an incredibly long way. You would have 5 years ago not seen a woman who had curves walking down the runway shows for the next season's fashion. You are starting to see a lot of size inclusivity in the fashion shows that are running currently in the different countries for the winter 2024. And that is encouraging because you would not have seen that. Again, going back to The Devil Wears Prada, a movie that I love so much. And you recognize that back then there was no size inclusivity, right? Their job was to portray a certain image, and that was an image of being thin. And um, that is where the fashion industry has mostly been. Now, if you go back 6 decades, that's so hard to think about now, but in the 50s and 60s, you look at the fashion icons back then, Marilyn Monroe, uh, she was very curvaceous. Jane Russell, like the women back then were more curvy, and they were not the size zeros and size twos that have seen become so popular in more recent decades. And so there was a shift there from women who were curvy and voluptuous to this image of thinness, straightness of bodies, not having a lot of shape to them. And so we have seen trends come and go that work for certain body types, don't work for other body types. And so, we see that. And as a personal stylist and someone who loves fashion, it's important for us as women over 50, and for some of us who have experienced menopause, which I have, our body shifts and changes as we get older, most of us. Um, and so things don't stay in the same places that they used to be. Um, and things aren't, gravity takes effect and things start to fall, and sometimes we put on additional weight in areas that we don't want to put on weight. And so clothing and fashion can have a hard time. I mean, we can get caught up in the comparison game. Oh, I gotta lose weight, I gotta be thin, I gotta be a certain size so that I feel good about myself. And I feel good about myself. I'm size 12. Could I lose a few pounds? Sure. Do I take effort sometimes to lose a few pounds? Absolutely. But I feel comfortable in my skin. And if this is the size I am, I dress my body for that size. I don't put pressure on myself to be a certain size. I try to be healthy, and I try to exercise and walk, but I don't put these expectations on myself anymore. I'm healthy, I feel good, and that's what matters. And with fashion, it's important to figure out how to dress your body type. What looks good on you and what doesn't. What makes you feel confident and what doesn't. So I have been on that journey, and I have gone with the masses and tried to be trendy and tried to dress a certain way and feel a certain way. And that was a lot of me trying to compare myself and getting lost in that comparison game. And now I own my age. I own my style. I just went through a whole journey that will be launching on Friday. If you're watching on YouTube on my podcast, you'll see this journey that I went from being a maximalist to a sort of minimalist with my wardrobe, because I have very definite ways that are who I am, and I want to dress accordingly. And I want to add certain aspects of my personality and my mood to impact that as well. But I do have a standard uniform of how I like to dress and how I like to style things. And I have studied how to do that on other women and other women of different body types. And so starting on Fridays on my YouTube channel, we're going to start talking about fashion. And I'm going to share style tips, and we're going to talk about current fashion. We're going to talk about how to style things for your body type. and not necessarily for your age. It really is truly about the clothes and the way they make you feel and the confidence that that makes you bring out. It's that dress with purpose. I want to walk out feeling and looking my best that represents the best of who I am. And so fashion plays a big part of that, and it's an important part of an aspect of our lives. And we see the digital images of it. We see how people are dressing. We see what the industry is showing us as current style. And so fashion does have an impact. And fashion should empower us. And fashion should make us feel confident and secure and express who we are as women. And so that's what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing and talking about is how to dress with purpose and how to really be and show and honor and express the woman that you truly are, really at any age. But especially for us women who are over 50 and who are in that stage of life where experience has been lived. Life has been lived. You know, I hear the saying, youth is wasted on the young. And really, truly, as you get to be an older and more experienced and hopefully wiser person, you recognize that youth is wasted on the young. When the body aches and the things, and we have all this experience and we want to be, more active and more out there. And our bodies sometimes don't want to play the same game. So, I really do want to encourage us as women to really recognize that we have this beautiful thing called life that we've lived, and we can express that through the way we dress and through the way we get ready, through the way we do our hair, through the way we do our makeup or represent our beauty. And that's just what I feel like I've been called to talk about and I've been called to do. So that is why I'm here today talking about comparison, because it has definitely been something that I've struggled with. And it's definitely a journey to kind of get out of that comparison game, especially when it comes to beauty and fashion and age. All right. So let's wrap this all up. I'll get off my soapbox now. And we know that the beauty and fashion industry are starting to move towards being more size and age inclusive. Now, they still have some ways to go, but guess what? We get to express and create our own style, our own beauty, our own fashion stories, and we get to choose to dress with purpose. And that's really what this is all about. It's about feeling good about ourselves. It's about accepting ourselves. It's about stepping out of the comparison game and recognizing that we are our own unique women, that we have our own stories to tell. We have our own lives to live, and getting caught up in someone else's chapter 10 when we're only on our chapter 2 doesn't benefit us in the long run. We each have a beautiful, wonderful life, whether it's been an easy life or a hard life, and the struggles have been real. We have a life, and we get to represent that through our beauty, through our style, through fashion, through the ways that we want to show up in the world. And so I want to encourage you and I want to inspire you that it is okay to be who you are, to be comfortable in your own skin, to rock the style that you want to rock, to play with makeup, to be bold if you want to be bold, be natural if you want to be natural. You don't have to compare yourself to anybody else, but to be who you were uniquely created to be. So I wanted to give you a little bonus here and talk about some of the women who are over 50 who are currently fashion and style icons. Now, most of these women are actresses, or they have had significant impact and influence in their positions in either media or in politics, or just in are recognizable out in the world. So I went out and did some research about women who are over 50, and here is a list of women that I came up with that are um, style icons that would incorporate both beauty and fashion. So one, we've got Meryl Streep, the Devil Wears Prada herself. Uh, she represents a very timeless, elegant, classy woman. When you see her out on the runways, you see her out at premieres, at the award ceremonies. Uh, she owns who she is, and you can see that in her style. Another woman who is over 50, Cindy Crawford. She was a famous supermodel, and she is a beauty icon. I mean, she was the face of beauty for quite a bit of time, and she continues to be out there representing women over 50. And she is also a very timeless beauty. And now, can all of us be Cindy Crawford? No, but she represents us, and she represents beauty in a very natural way. And so that is one of her claims, is that she is very, very much still in the beauty world and promoting skincare. Then we have Helen Mirren, the grande dame herself. Uh, I remember her from Calendar Girls. Like, if you really want some information, if you really want some inspiration, go watch Calendar Girls. Great movie, funny movie, loved it. But she is not afraid to dress what makes her feel good. And she owns who she is. She is a style icon. She is a great picture of how we can own our own style and our own beauty. Then we have Julianne Moore, this fiery redhead. She also has a very classic style, but she can also be very sexy. And so she represents us women who like to be a little sexier, who like to be a little sassier. Um, so she's a great representation of a woman over 50. Then you have Viola Davis. She is just a powerhouse actress, and she just rocks. She just owns it. She owns her style. She owns herself, and she has played some very powerful roles, and she's unapologetic for it. And so she has become a style icon because of that. Uh, then we have Oprah Winfrey. She has rocked her size, her curves, her style for decades. She has become an icon in her own right. She has been in media, and she has her own style, and she represents a curvy, vivacious woman who is proud of who she is, who is a strong woman and portrays that through her style and through her fashion. Then we have Cate Blanchett. Now, she is very interesting that she is very much a ethereal beauty. Can be very avant-garde. And she is a style icon in that she pushes the boundaries in her style. And she's a woman over 50. So if you're a woman over 50, you can push your style. You can be bolder, be more courageous. If that is who you are as a woman. And she represents that avant-garde style. And then you have Tilda Swinton, who is more that androgynous. She can go feminine or masculine in the way that she dresses. She can just be androgynous. She can make you think. She can push you to think differently. And so if you're a woman who likes to be more in that androgynous way that you dress, she's a great example for a woman over 50 in her style and how she presents herself and represents herself out there. Then you have Angela Bassett. She radiates strength and elegance, and she is a great representative of a powerful woman who can be elegant and sophisticated as well. And she is a great representation of that particular style that she owns. There are women out there that represent pieces and facets of who we are as women over 50. Then, of course, you've got, I would say, who would be our American sweetheart for us women over 50, and that's Julia Roberts. Most of us recognize her from Pretty Woman and just this wholesome, classic woman who's fun and flirty and doesn't take herself too seriously. And she is another example of natural beauty. If you see her in any type of social media or follow her on social, she is not afraid to be natural. She's not afraid to go without makeup. She's not afraid of her age. And she has great style and is okay in her skin and with her aging. And so she's a great representative. So all these women are all women over 50 who embrace who they are, who exude their own styles, who fall in all different styles, size, shape, age range. And so use these women as inspiration, as examples. Use the women in your life as inspiration and examples. This is just what we see out in the industries that come across to us. And so there are women out there that do represent us and our age and our shapes and our styles. And so I would encourage you to find that inspiration. Find those people, even if it's regular people who inspire you and encourage you with the way they do the makeup, the way they get dressed. But there are women out there who do represent us in these industries. And I'm thankful that it's becoming more and more commonplace. There's still a ways to go in the fashion and beauty industry, and youth is probably always going to be synonymous with beauty and style. But we get to create the narrative that we live in every day. And we get the choice and the ability to dress with purpose every single day and represent who we are. So I've shared with you some women who represent us in the industry in our age group. I've talked about beauty and fashion and style and stepping out of the comparison game and creating our own unique and personal style unique to us so that we're not comparing ourselves to anybody else, but we get to be our own unique person. So I would love for you to leave me in the comments what is your struggle with comparison? because I think it's important for us as women and in this community of women over 50 to realize that we're not alone with our struggles. And so I'd love you to share in the comments below where you have struggled with comparison in your life. I'd like for you to share a inspirational story that you've overcome in your life. Not necessarily having anything to do with beauty or fashion or style, but so that women can see how we can overcome. And I want this to be a community where we support each other and we encourage each other. And we recognize that we're not alone in where we are in our age, where we are in our life experiences. And so I would love for you to share that down below. And then I would love you also, if you would like, to share how you see your personal style and how that impacts and influences you on a day-to-day basis. So I want you to remember, and I want you to know that you get to choose every day to dress with purpose. And that is why I created this podcast for you, for us to talk about these things that have impact and influence on us women who are over 50. And for those of you who are coming into the 50s age range, or who are going into the 60s, or who may be in a stage of life where you need some experienced women around you to encourage you and to lift you up, that's what I want this community to be. So remember, you get to choose every day to dress with purpose. So there are lots of exciting things brewing over here. I have lots of great things in the works for upcoming podcast episodes. So I would love for you to hit the like button. I would love for you to subscribe. I would love for you to leave a comment in the comment sections below. And most importantly, I would love if you know a woman who would benefit from this podcast or for anything that I am sharing on my YouTube channel, to share this with your girlfriends, and let's create a community where we get to dress with purpose and lift and encourage other women who are in the same stage of life or who may just need some encouragement. I'll see you guys on the next episode.